Hello and welcome to our project evaluation of Qantas's Project Sunrise. Next slide, please. Qantas is the largest airline in Australia, providing flights to 142 global destinations with both its main brand Qantas and its subsidiary budget airline Jetstar. The airline operates roughly 5,600 domestic and 540 international flights per week. As an international airline, Qantas has many competitors, mainly from the surrounding regions, such as Virgin Australia, Fiji Airways, Singapore Airlines, and Cathay Pacific. Next slide, please. Project Sunrise is Qantas's advance into ultra long-haul flights linking Sydney to Europe and New York. Today, these routes require a stopover, as current commercial aircraft lack the range to complete the journey in one go. Project Sunrise will enable Qantas to fly these routes non-stop, reducing travel times by up to 4 hours. With the success of the project, Qantas will gain an edge over its competitors, as no other international airline flies these routes non-stop. The project decision environment has been identified as a new product on product expansion, and this presentation will outline Project Sunrise as well as an alternative. A judgment will then be made based on financial indicators for both options and the recommendations provided. On to Tony.
Thank you, Ben. For Qantas's financial status, Qantas was heavily impacted by COVID-19 pandemic, with a 90% reduction in internal capacity and 60% reduction in domestic capacity. Qantas has received a $2.7 billion government handout during the pandemic. However, its debt ratio is at 0.068, which is 6.8%, meaning that Qantas is not financed by debt, or its debt is at 6.8% of its total spending. Its current ratio is at 0.42, which means that it can only pay off 42% of its current liabilities. Furthermore, its total assets turnover is at 0.97. Its low ratio shows that Qantas is using its assets very effectively. With every dollar, Qantas earns 97 cents. Its return on equity is at 9%. 9% shows that for every $100, Qantas earns $9 as capital profit. And lastly, its price to earnings ratio is at negative 18.1. Its negative shows that the stock is undervalued, slow growth, and has a high market risk. On to Ben.
Thanks, Tony. So now I'll outline the alternatives of the project. For the first alternative will be Project Sunrise, which is Qantas ordering 12 Airbus A350-1000s in May of 2022 for $3.2 billion. The Airbus A350 is a brand new twin-engined passenger aircraft capable of ultra-long-range flights of up to 16,000 kilometers. Under Qantas's seating plan, the aircraft has a capacity for 238 passengers across a standard 3-class configuration. This seating capacity is smaller than other aircraft of this size, which Qantas highlights as a benefit due to increased room per passenger and the inclusion of wellness zones. The second alternative is using Boeing 777s rather than the Airbus A350-1000s. Although not currently in service, the Boeing lists the 777 seating capacity at between 350 and 375 seats across 2 classes. And like the Airbus A350, it is capable of ultra-long distance flights. This higher seating capacity would allow Qantas to carry more passengers per flight. However, this may be at the sacrifice of customer comfort. The 777 is listed at $400 million per unit. However, with the increased seating capacity, this would mean that Qantas only needs a fleet of 8 777s to match the seating capacity of the 12 A350s. Now on to Angus.
Thank you, Ben. The project costs for both alternatives include the capital cost, operating costs, and maintenance costs. The capital cost is the initial investment of the entire fleet of aircraft, whilst both the operating and maintenance cost is calculated based on 400 hours flown per annum per plane. The capital costs for both alternatives A and B are valued at $3.2 billion. The elements of alternative B include 8 units of the Boeing's 777X-9 aircraft. These are valued at roughly $400 to $450 million. This was to match Qantas's order of 12 aircraft and its respective seat capacity. The operating costs for both alternatives include fuel cost, engine overhaul, miscellaneous crew handling and landing, miscellaneous variables and maintenance, insurance, and AC cost. For alternative A, this is valued at $7.348 million a year. This value was based upon the A350-1000 predecessor, the A350-900. For the maintenance cost, this is valued at $750,000 and was gathered from Boeing's claim that the A350-1000 will incur a maintenance reduction of 25% per annum. So, based on values given by the A350-900, this is valued at $750,000. For alternative B, The operating cost is valued at $5.38 million. This was based on Boeing's previous plane, the 787-9 Dreamliner, and the maintenance cost is valued at $1 million. This was based on a similar wide-body twin-engine jet. Now on to Abby.
For alternative A, the benefits can be calculated by a determined break-even cost of $1,300 per seat and a profit margin of 13.5% as stated in Qantas's annual report, making the overall cost per ticket $1,500. Hence, this project is expected to generate $400 million with a total of 270,000 tickets sold each year. Using the same number of ticket sales as the A350 with an estimated ticket price of $1,650 based on current one-way tickets, the Boeing will produce $450 million per year worth of revenue. The salvage value for both planes is primarily scrap metal, under the assumption that all planes are used to the end of their lifespan. The Boeing is estimated to have a salvage value of $6.8 million per plane based on very similar aircrafts, and direct information for the salvage value of the A350 is unavailable. But using the Boeing as a guide, the A350 can be determined to produce $4.2 million per plane. Through analysing these values, combined with operating and maintenance costs, the Boeing is the more beneficial project as it generates greater benefits with minimal operational expenses. Next slide. For both alternatives, the income tax is estimated to be 30% based on the current corporate tax rate. Using this and other predetermined values from assumptions, including revenue and operating costs, the net income of the A350 can be determined to be $147 million, with an outflow of $188 million for the first year, increasing with inflation at 5.5% per year. As the aircraft are purchased outright for this project, the payback period needs to be accounted for and has been determined to be 13.4 years based on net cash flow. Next slide. Alternative B has a net income of $212 million and an outflow of $146 million, and also increases alongside inflation. The payback period for the Boeing aircraft is 10.5 years, making it the favourable option based on the higher revenue and net income values and shorter payback period. Back to Angus.
Thank you, Abby. I'll be briefly touching on the viability indicators. This includes the payback period, which is the duration of time for the project to recoup the initial investment, the net present value, which is the cash inflows and outflows estimated over the project's lifespan, and the benefit cost ratio, which is the present value of benefits over the present value of costs. As we can see, Alternative B has a shorter payback period, a higher NPV, and a higher BCR, indicating that Alternative B is the more financially viable option. On to Newton.
Thank you, Angus. The events of each potential risk are weighted against a rating system that consists of two components: probability of each event happening and impact. Both components are further categorized in low, medium, and high. The potential risks are follows: inflation of fuel prices, spread of virus can either cause lockdowns or restrictions like COVID back in 2020. Weather conditions. The weather conditions can either delay or cancel flights if it gets too dangerous. Maintenance and mechanical issues. Long trips and use of the plane can wear out some parts which can need to be replaced. Time of the year, which can affect the amount of tickets being sold. During the holiday season, we expect more customers, while during non-holiday seasons, we expect less. Next slide, please. The sensitivity analysis will go over how sensitive NPV is to each variable change. Since both alternative A and B are planes, we can safely assume that both will have the same input variable, which are the following: revenue, operational and maintenance costs, capital investment, and salvage value. We can differentiate how sensitive each variable is and rank them from 1 to 4. 1 being the most sensitive, while 4 is being the least sensitive to NPV change. To be able to rank them from 1 to 4, we need to look at the gradient line of each one and see which one is the steepest one. We can both see in alternative A and B, revenue is being the most sensitive variable, capital cost being second, operational and maintenance costs being third, and salvage value being last. On to Tony.
Thank you, Newton. For our recommendations, our team has concluded that the Boeing 77X9 is the superior choice over the Airbus A350-1000 for the Australia to UK route, based on extensive financial analysis. The critical factors influencing our decisions include the payback period, in which Boeing is significantly shorter at 10.52 years compared to Airbus's 13.37 years. Its net present value, Boeing sits at $4.2 billion, while Airbus is around $2.5 billion, indicating Boeing's higher profitability potential, and is evident in Boeing's 10.52 years compared to Airbus's 13.37 years. Furthermore, the benefit cost ratio, Boeing is at 1.33 over Airbus's 0.81, forecasting better financial returns. Lastly, the life cycle cost, Boeing costs at $3.8 billion versus $4.3 billion for Airbus, despite Airbus's claim of 25% lower annual maintenance costs. Thank you.